Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of the Holopod podcast by Searchability. I'm host and Searchability Director Ollie Preston, and today we're hosting client, SEO specialist, marketing extraordinaire and newly Tranmere Rovers Associate Director, Liam Quirk off of Quirky Digital. How's it going, Liam?
All good, yeah. Life's good. Life's good at the minute. Obviously, we've got a lot going on at the agency. Tranmere have just beat Wrexham at the weekend.
Buzzing.
Yeah, not much to complain about at the minute.
Did you go?
I did go, yeah.
You did go? In the away end?
No, I was in the posh bit.
On enemy waters, is that what you say?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Behind enemy lines, that's it. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, it was good. Normally when we go to away games, we get told not to over-celebrate, to be respectful of the opponents, but...
And did you?
That didn't happen on Saturday. Yeah.
Well, that was a bit of a unexpected victory, that, right?
I think it was unexpected for
Wrexham fans.
Yeah, for Wrexham fans, but the types of performances we put in recently, I wasn't actually surprised that we beat them. They're obviously much higher in the league, much bigger budgets than us. But I think the team spirit that we had, they knew that our fans turned up for it, so the players turned up as well.
Happy days. Love that. Buzzing for you. I know I'm Dean Martin Bly was equally happy. Liam Quirk, Quirky Digital. Coincidence?
No, it's not a coincidence. So I remember when I was coming up with the business name, and it's probably just before COVID, and it was when all these AI business name generators come out. Yeah. And a lot of people are using them now, and I was just going away, typing random things in, typing the services that we're providing in, and the stuff that was coming out was rubbish, if I'm being honest. Yeah, and I just started typing in random domain names, looking at what our competitors had, and a few of the older competitors as such had the surnames, and I was like, to be fair, my surname has a bit of a ring.
It's cool, isn't it? It is.
Yeah, so I threw the Y on the end, so it wasn't about myself too much. Got the Liam out and then threw the digital on the end, and
well, why not take advantage of the world's coolest surname? I don't blame you. So I did a little bit of research on Quirky Digital before you came in today. So you started in 2020, height of lockdown.
It was I handed them a notice in on my previous job just before Boris announced the lockdown. So
brilliant.
The day before.
Good timing.
Decided I wanted to be a freelancer, and then a few months in, set up a limited company, and the limited company was established 27th of May 2020. Just
before the whole world went to shit.
It did, yeah. It went crazy. It was bad timing and good timing, because the good timing side of things is probably something I talk about now, and I can talk about it now.
Yeah.
But I was locked indoors. I wasn't going out on the weekend. I wasn't going to the football. I wasn't drinking all the time. Well, to be honest, I was finding myself having a few beers while I was
Didn't we all?
Yeah. So that was kind of happening. So I wasn't spending a lot of money, wasn't spending a lot of time doing other things. So I was completely locked in.
Pure focus.
Yeah, pure focus.
Love that.
Yeah, but the first few months were difficult because obviously no businesses wanted to spend money on marketing. A lot of them were scared. I'm sure you guys experienced it as well.
It was tough.
With recruitments. People were unsure. So it was difficult to begin with. And then as time grew on, people got more confidence. Businesses obviously were allowed to open again, but it was like online operations.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were ordering food online. A lot of people were ordering clothes online. So as this started to happen and businesses realised they could operate, I took upon myself to start marketing myself aggressively to these businesses.
Get ahead of the game while everyone else was stopping.
That's exactly it. And obviously as this was happening, the government gave out like the bounce back loans, grants, all this type of stuff to spend on marketing to digitalise the businesses. And we rid the wave at the right time.
Love that. And Quirky Digital was born. How many staff are you up to now, 4 years on?
So right now there's 14 of us.
Okay, so you're growing pretty exponentially.
Yeah, things have grew quickly. We're recruiting for the 15th at the minute as well. So things have, things have snowballed over time. Yeah,
and it's noticeable. And I did also see that you were personally recognised recently for being one of 30 people under 30 inspiring the next generation. I mean, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, so that was in the Liverpool Echo.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Merseyside royalty.
Yeah. No, that's it. It's nice. It's nice to be featured in it. We've actually had inquiries of people wanting to work with us
on the back of
off the back of it. And if you look at some of the people in there as well, so you've got footballers, you've got Trent who plays for Liverpool, you've got
it's not bad company
Jamie
to hold.
Webster, all these different types of people, and then there's me talking about SEO.
Does that make you feel proud or a little bit embarrassed, or how does that feel?
No, it's proud. Yeah,
man, it should be.
It's 100% proud, because if I look at the people throughout the list, from a business perspective, I'm the only real entrepreneur on there.
Yeah, man, I love that. No, it is really cool. I would actually like to say I have had the pleasure of meeting Liam a few times, and you're still in your 20s, aren't you? Is that right?
I don't know how to take that. Yeah, I'm 26.
26. Yeah, I was being nice there. I thought you were mid-20s.
Okay.
So you're 26. You're in the 30 under 30 people for being recognised for inspiring the next generation. You're a really likeable character. What you're doing with Quirky Digital has been pretty phenomenal. You should be very proud. So it's a pleasure to have you on, and I do appreciate you freeing up the time, because I know you've got your plate pretty full at the moment. So so nice one. Okay, so the pod today then, the plan briefly, checks notes, is to introduce Quirky Digital and its services, talk all about your journey, mate, from the start up to where you are now, becoming a rising MD of a nationally recognised creative SEO agency, discuss how best to stand out as an SEO agency, talk about the power of AI briefly, cover the trials and tribulations of recruitment, obviously a recruitment podcast, and talk about how agencies can help companies like Searchability and other recruitment agencies stand out in an SEO world. But before we get stuck in, we did ask you to have a think about our first segment, which is called The Good, The Bad and The Awkward. This is supposed to be a bit of an icebreaker, so for the audience to find out a bit more about you, in essence, mate. Funny story, ridiculous story, embarrassing story, ideally about recruitment. What have you got for us?
Yeah, so to be honest, this story in particular it's obviously relatively new, because I've only been recruiting over the past 4 years. And
how recently talking?
It was when I started the business, pretty much. And it covers all three of them areas. If I'm
perfect.
So I was, made a decision. I wanted to start the business and started to grow. I started to take on staff. First point of call, because of the agencies I worked at previously, a lot of what you'd call the grunt work was done by apprentices. So we went down the apprenticeship route. People were being brought in for interviews. It's like the mum had sent them, basically. And I must have interviewed every single CV. I had no clue about recruitment. I wasn't picking anybody. I was just like, send them in. Got to like the 16th person, and I was like,
had enough.
I thought I had enough at this point. And then someone come in to, it was actually, this was virtual because of COVID.
Yeah, of course.
So this one was, this was a virtual interview. This guy comes on, he's got a shirt and tie on. I was like...
Looks the part,
but said to him, you're looking really smart. And he's like, yeah, just been to my dad's funeral. No. And I was like, he just told me that like within like 30 seconds of speaking to him.
Where'd you go from there?
And that's it. And I was like, all right, so this is going to be another one of these interviews that just feel awkward. Didn't have a clue about it. But, so this guy that said that...
So he literally turned up for the interview just after getting out of his own dad's funeral?
Yeah, pretty much. He mentioned the funeral right away.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's it's something that stuck with me. But this person became my first recruit. He's still working.
So you hired him?
I hired him. So
love that.
That was the start of the interview, and I was like, where's it go from here? But he was amazing. He still works for me today, and it was probably one of the best interviews I've ever had. He's shown how ambitious he was, how much he wants to grow as a person, completely honest about where he was as a person. And right away, I seen a little bit of myself in him.
Love that.
And recruited him.
Well, it's definitely awkward.
Yeah.
And it's got a great outcome, but it was a bit of a bad situation.
It was definitely a bad situation. And to begin with, it was awkward, but it turned out to be good. And I'm sure he won't mind me saying it either.
You know what? That's probably my favourite GBA story today. I mean, that is ballsy. Yeah. He could have cancelled, to be fair, couldn't he? He could have postponed.
Yeah.
Love that. Nice. All right, well, nice one for kicking us off with that, Liam. Appreciate it. So let's get stuck into the pod then. Let's just go back to the start and find a bit more about you. Talk us through your journey, particularly in the SEO world, and then how you've come to where you are today.
Yeah, no worries. So I left school at 16 with 3 GCSEs.
In what?
So business studies. So business studies did really well in. Art, drama, and I had a BTEC in IT as well.
Love that.
So I knew at an early age. So my uncle was in the SEO industry, the digital industry.
Yeah.
As I was growing up with him being my uncle, he was 10 years older than me. He was just showing me basically how much money he was making online when I was in high school, showing me tricks. I was learning how to build my own websites, that type of stuff. So I was doing all this while I was still in high school. Obviously, as time went on, when I was getting ready for my GCSEs, I just thought, I don't even need this anymore.
Yeah, you decided what you wanted to do already.
And in my head, it was complete tunnel vision, but all my family, like, you know, I felt like family basically thought I was a fuck up.
Yeah.
Because I was targeted like A stars and A's, and I just completely
didn't turn up.
them.
Yeah.
I did them and had a go, and the ones such as business studies, which I really enjoyed, I absolutely smashed it.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, like maths, English, feels quite bad saying it now, because when I interview people, I say that they need them.
So they weren't important for you, but now they are important to you.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am literate. I can count, but I use calculators a lot.
Same.
That's it. So you know, I went down that route and obviously left school, got myself an apprenticeship. I was, you know, lucky enough to, at this time, you know, I had some examples of website I'd created. I had an understanding of SEO. Yeah. And for an apprentice, it was quite rare. It was rare to actually...
you're quite self-taught from a young age already, so you're 3/4 of the way there already, in essence.
Yeah, and looking at it from an employer's point of view, I was probably a massive risk.
Yeah.
I was. If you looked at what I did in school, I was a risk, but I was completely committed in one area in my life. And as time went on, obviously worked for agencies. You know, worked in Chester for 4 years for a smaller agency. Worked very close to the MD. He taught me a lot about, not just about SEO, but about business as well.
Yeah.
And I really was a sponge from like the age of 16 up to 20 while I was working with him. And learn how to sell, learned how to speak in commercial terms, learned how to actually train staff up.
Massive life skills.
A lot of skills which you wouldn't learn in an average, you know, junior level role.
Yeah.
And I was thrown in the deep end and got to the point where I was pretty much second in command, and I was 20 years old. So
yeah, it's impressive.
It was good experience. And then I left to join another agency, which was closer back to obviously where I grew up in Wallasey. And I obviously worked there for a bit, worked with much bigger clients, much bigger budgets, much bigger team.
Like that next step up, would you say?
It was a step. And I thought in my head, like there was a little bit of uncertainty as to whether I could deliver for big clients at this point. And I went to this company and completely, you know, I proved myself wrong. I delivered really good results. And that was when I was in my head. I was like, right, I know how to sell these services. I know how to train people up. I know how to actually deliver the results. In theory, I could do this by myself.
Cogs started turning.
Well, that's it. And it was probably just over a year. It was. And it come up to like my yearly review. And I remember I went into my yearly review just like,
give me more money.
That's it. So I had in my head, I was like, how much money can I get? That's what I had. And I was like, because when they interviewed me, they probably watched this.
Yeah.
When they interviewed
I hope so.
When they interviewed me, he said to me, what are my career aspirations? And I was straight up. I said, I want my own agency.
Yeah.
Like, and that was probably a sticking point for them, because they could obviously see how ambitious I was.
Yeah. Okay.
And he said to me, like, when they offered me the job, he was like, how soon is it that you're looking to start your own agency? And I said, it'll probably be over the next few years.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a year. That's as long as it took me to get the confidence. And, you know, at this point as well, it wasn't like I was just leaving, you know, my job where, you know, I was on a good salary for my age. I wasn't just leaving that and then starting off with nothing. I had some of my own projects. Yeah. So I had my own website I'd set up where I'd sell the leads to people.
So you were doing a bit of freelancing in the background anyway, simultaneously?
Yeah, so I had a few of my own clients. They weren't big ones. Some of them are actually now some of my bigger clients who grew as I've grew, which is absolutely love it. And I also, as I mentioned, something which I don't think enough SEO people do this, but actually set up their own websites. So there are lots of really good SEO people that I know who work at the biggest agencies. If you ask them to rank a website from scratch, they wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I see it when I'm interviewing people all the time. A lot of the businesses we work with are, you know, startups that want to grow fast. And you're not starting off with the newspapers all talking about, lots of, you know, digital PR coverage.
Yeah.
You're starting off with nothing. So I was doing this in my own time. And these are my case studies. So I was posting these on LinkedIn. And, you know, I didn't have to worry about ex-employers, you know, being worried about it or, you know, trying to get me into trouble for it. So I was doing all this stuff on the side. I was building these websites up as it's called rank and rent. So ranking them and then renting them.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I've got one to this day, which, you know, if you type in, it's literally lip fillers Wirral. And this was
lip fillers Wirral.
Literally the first website I ever made. It was when the cosmetic boom was going on. Everyone was getting lip fillers. And I set this website up. It was registered at my mum's house because I lived with her at the time. And she was getting letters through the door and everything. And she was thinking, what the fuck is going on? And I had this business set up. You know, people were obviously ringing up. I was diverting these phone calls to someone who provided the service.
Yeah.
I think it was like 400 quid a month or something like that. But
happy days.
This is what I used to think in my head. It's digital real estate. You got people that make that much off renting properties out. I was renting websites out. This was kind of my, you know, it was my foundation to actually be able to go up and grow my business because I had, you know, I did have income coming in.
Yeah, already. Yeah. The platform was already in place.
Yeah.
Okay, so you leave the company that you make aware that you're probably going to set up your own agency. You talked about originally planning to go freelance before lockdown happened.
Yeah.
How have you turned from, you know, originally starting out as a freelancer to a company that's now 14 strong?
Yeah.
How has that evolved?
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I started the business and obviously wanted to be a freelancer, it was all about my time, my ability to do what I want, basically work from where I wanted.
Yeah.
That was the real thing to begin with that attracted me to start my own business. It was so for that period during COVID, I had a lot of freedom. So although a lot of people were locked down, I was managing to find ways to leave the country and work from other places. And it was really good and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, the money that I was making was my money at this point because it was just me. I was the only mouth to feed and I was really enjoying it. But I spent, it was about 6 weeks I spent in Cyprus and it was just before the winter lockdown which happened where everyone was placed into tears. And I was in Cyprus and I was just thinking like, this is the life. But I'm literally spending 13, 14 hours a day working.
Yeah.
So it got
you had more work on than you could fully accommodate.
Well, that's it. So I thought, you know, becoming a business owner, I'd have a lot of time freedom. It was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I had freedom in terms of where I could go and where I could work from and who I could work with. But from a time perspective, I couldn't actually enjoy myself while I was out there. And I thought, literally, that's when it triggered me in the head. I was like, this is where I take the risk now.
Yeah, no, I think that happens a lot because I think when you first set out in business by yourself in this sort of context, you know, you back yourself, you know you can deliver, and trusting somebody else to perform at your level is where a lot of people struggle to kind of let go.
Yeah,
and I think it's only once you realise you're exhausting yourself to try and deliver that you realise you need more.
That's the thing, and that's the one thing that stands out to me about this industry where people do start up by themselves. You know, probably the biggest driver for people in their careers is finance.
Yeah.
And when you're making money, let's say you're making $4,000 a month as an example through selling SEO services, it's just you. That's pretty much funding your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You probably have your software coming out of that. All these, you know, the tools, SEMrush, all these the different software you need to pay for will be coming out of that money, and you're not left with that
as much as it might sound,
as it might sound, and because of that, people probably get frightened by that. And when it actually comes to hiring somebody and making that next step, it will put a lot of people off that you're again giving up more income.
Yeah,
and then you've got to pay for an additional license on all these different pieces of software. And that's the thing which I look at now. And there's so many people that, you know, people reach out to me now and say, you know, it's amazing what you've done. Can I have your advice? I've just started up by myself. And it must be every single time I speak to someone, the first thing I think of my head is, you need to start getting rid of some of the stuff that you're doing because it's not high value stuff. You could get a virtual assistant in to do it, or like I did, you could get an apprentice in, and you know, you pay apprentices a lot more now than you did when I started the business.
Yeah,
even though it wasn't even that long ago. But you know, you can get someone on, you know, a grand, 1,500 quid a month, you know, and you can get someone in.
It's
and
mutually beneficial as well.
It's mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, that recruiter, Ahmed, that I talked about earlier, he's in a managerial position today.
Love
and
that.
Clients love him.
Sound class. No, it is cool. Yeah. We'll touch on this more later, but there's so much synergy between the way that you guys operate your business and recruitment. And there's just so many similarities there. You talk about the costs associated with the business. We were actually at one of our most profitable during COVID, for example. Yeah. We went, you know, we put a lot of people onto furlough for a brief period, and you got the best people all working on you. But everyone was hungry, determined. It just worked. But anyway, let's focus on Quirky Digital for now. So you know, you guys are being recognised. Well, of course you know, but you're being recognised, you know, nationally now for your achievements. Maybe globally, as far as I'm aware, but certainly on a national level. What would you say for, you know, potential, the sort of people you're talking about, I guess?
Yeah.
How do you stand out as an SEO specialist in this world? What are Quirky Digital doing to stand out?
Yeah. Well, in order for us to get to the position that we're in now, we've put a massive emphasis on obviously our own marketing, but what we're marketing.
Yeah.
So I look at a lot of, I mean, to be honest, a lot of the bigger agencies, some of them I aspire to be a little bit like, but sometimes I look at their social profiles as an example, and it's like employee of the month. And I had a conversation with her because we literally put one up a few months ago for employee of the month. I was like, I don't want our feed to be filled with this. Yeah. It's good. Obviously, you've got to 100% recognise your employees, but it becomes purely about the people that are there. Obviously, the culture is important, but we put a massive emphasis to begin with, and this is what I feel is if anyone in SEO, obviously, you know, I understand recruitment's completely different, but SEO, where it is all about results, most of my clients don't care who my staff are as long as they're good and they do what they say they're going to do and they're going to deliver results. So our marketing has been all around, these are the results that we produce.
Yeah, so and evidence.
It's pure evidence. And I was in a fortunate position where when I started, I had the evidence on my own websites. Yeah. I think that any SEO, whether it's a company, whether it's a freelancer, whether it's someone who wants to get started in the industry and, you know, they're looking to, you know, work for bigger agencies, it's all about the evidence. And we've just constantly ran that down people's throats.
So that's how, even when you're starting up, that's how you're winning business. That's how you're enticing clients. Well, this is what I've done. Yeah. I can do that for you.
Well, that's it. If you compare, you know, me, I'm a young person. Yeah. You know, I've not got a, you know, massive educational background. I'm still learning on the job to this day in terms of running the business. There are a lot of things, if you compare me to other agency owners that are a lot older than me, who would you trust more without knowing about the results? Me, with this accent.
I don't know what you mean.
At this age, against someone who's a lot older, a lot more experienced, in terms of business.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Generically speaking, obviously the latter, but I do think in your world, I might be wrong here, this is just, you know, from afar, it's quite a cool young person's technology focused, you know, social media savvy environment, I guess. So I don't know. I know what you're saying. If someone's got 25 years of proven experience, I get that. But that's why you're talking about making it about the numbers. Well, this is what I can do.
Well, that's it. So I was coming to the table with pure evidence. This is exactly what we've done. I can talk them through the whole campaign. Yeah. Not hiding anything. I'll just be complete, upfront and honest with it. And that's the way we marketed ourselves to begin with. And that's how we attracted a lot of clients. And in the SEO industry, there's, you know, it is a dark art in a lot of people's eyes. Some people will just tell you what they want to tell you. Yeah. That is it. But, you know, we'll go in depth in terms of what we're going to deliver for people. We'll tell exactly what we delivered, what's done in terms of results. And that's shown for us. As time's gone on, people have appreciated that, how transparent we are with what we do. And that's obviously when we've been doing our aggressive marketing, that's helped. But on top of that, what's actually made us snowball as a business is the referrals and other people talking about us. You getting tagged in LinkedIn posts because we've delivered
and
stuff.
it's just snowballing
Or
from
Google
there.
reviews. If you look at our Google reviews, like they're all amazing.
Yeah.
And that is because we've had that much of a focus on delivering results, being completely transparent, and that's what that's how we've picked up the pace that we've picked up.
Well, it's working.
There's no secret sauce. It is doing what you say you're going to do.
Evidential.
And then asking people to talk about you as well. The one thing I think that, particularly younger people, they're afraid to ask for things.
Yeah.
And I was when I started the business, but sometimes there's been times where I've cheekily asked for things and it's led to, massive contracts.
Yeah, I love
just
that.
Just off someone saying,
just pushing yourself a little bit.
Are you thinking about working with Quirky Digital? These have done good things for us before, and it works.
Yeah, no, absolutely does. I know you actually ran a campaign, an SEO strategy for our grad proposition.
Yeah.
Clickstarters, and I know I wasn't very involved in it, mate, to be honest with you, but I know Dan, who runs that department, was really impressed by what you did. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you did for those guys?
Yeah, so that was a pretty standard SEO campaign. There was nothing, there was nothing where we had to think massively outside the box. So obviously, with Clickstarters and their offering, they're looking to attract obviously, graduate talent.
Yeah.
Obviously in certain areas as well. So we went away, produced content on the website, optimized content, getting and ranking for, search terms such as like, tech recruitment near me, these types of keywords.
Yeah.
We produced content on the website in order to rank for them search terms, got the website in a good, technically sound position where, there were no errors on the website. If people navigated it, they'd have a good experience, all that good stuff. And we ran a couple of link building campaigns as well. Which was obviously getting other people talking about Clickstarters, and it wasn't the campaign probably ran about 6 months, and it's definitely something that we would have loved to spend longer on, but it's something that I know the team really enjoyed it because, as I think you referred to a few times, our team is similar in a sense of young, ambitious, and our team obviously were talking. A lot of them are graduates, and they were writing content that graduates would enjoy.
Yeah.
Or people that were looking to recruit in the
It's all relatable.
It's all relatable. And it's much easier to write content like that than, as an example, we just took on a client recently. I love working with them, but writing about stair lifts. And stair lifts are used by people, normally purchased by people at the ages of 50 for the parents who are 80 or 90. And we've got our average age of 24, writing content about stair lifts, and
enjoying it.
I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I mean, we're producing really good results, but it's obviously a lot harder to wrap your head around stair lifts than it is something which you've experienced yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's cool, isn't it? It is interesting. And finally, before we get on to recruitment, I guess that's what we're here for, to talk about your recruitment process and how you handle that and how you attract candidates and all that. But just touching briefly, I know you spoke about Tranmere at the start of the podcast. Big result against Wrexham last week. Yeah. You're 26, MD of a company. You're now an associate director of the football team you grew up supporting. Yeah. How the fuck's that happened?
I ask myself that sometimes. It's an interesting one. I think I've pretty much been going to the games home and away since I could walk. Yeah. And I've always kind of, as I've grew up and been a teenager, I've always been looking around the ground, like, how does that business, who's this business which sponsors the team, even when I was a teenager?
I think we all had that dream watching our football clubs as kids. You saw before you might not remember, before the electronic boards came in, but I do, because I'm dead old, Liam. Yeah. But I always wanted a company that I work for's name to be on those boards on the outside, and now, you're there.
Well, that's it. And I used to look around, in the programme to see who sponsored what players, and I was just really intrigued by it from literally being a teenager. And I used to think on my head, as I've started to aim towards being a business owner and making money online, it was like, I want to do that one day. Yeah. And that's kind of how I got my foot in the door. So it's originally where I met, obviously, Martin.
Yeah. It's worth pointing out that Martin is also a massive Tranmere Rovers fan, and Searchability sponsored the back of the men's shirts and the front of the ladies' shirts. Is that still right? Yeah, nailed it.
That's right. So, obviously, I met a lot of great people through the sponsorship, and I kind of got my foot in the door that way. Yeah. At the same time, a couple of people I knew were working at the club in the marketing team. So I was, you know, I was there for them in terms of giving them advice.
Yeah.
A lot of them, you know,
for free or
yeah. No, that's it. I was giving them advice. I was giving them tips, as you would, because it's, you know, it's my football club.
Of course,
it's something which, if the club's successful off the pitch, they'll be successful on the pitch, and that's something which, you know, was always in my head. So I was constantly there for them to give them advice, and it was recognised by the owners of the club, and you know, I had a few conversations with them, obviously about what I do, about what my business does, and then, you know, it was probably just over a year ago. In fact, it was March last year. Got in contact with me and was like, "Do you want to be on the board?" And I was just, it went from there really. So
quickest yes of your life.
I actually had to think about it.
Did you?
Yeah, because the problem with me is, and you might have heard this if you're on the podcast, is I swear a lot.
Yeah.
And when I'm at the football, I swear 10 times as much.
Yeah, I think we all do
it's
that.
Something I'm so passionate about, and I kind of had to think in my head, like, can I be professional when I'm watching football?
Yeah.
I have to maintain that, you know, professionalism, and I think it's something which I've struggled with. Like, when I'm completely passionate about something, I will just say what's on my mind.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in an away team's boardroom, you can't.
You can't.
You can't. So it was something I had to think about, and I thought, am I mature enough to do it?
Yeah.
And I made a decision in my head that I was, and I've had no problems yet.
Yet being the operative word. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had no problems, but, you know, I've really enjoyed that. I've met some amazing people, the owners of the club. You know, I've learned so much from them.
Yeah.
They give up so much of their time. Obviously, I'm giving up my time for them, but, you know, they're running a football club. They're working 16 to 18 hours a day. They're obviously at the age of retirement, and they're still giving me their time and knowledge.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
I couldn't really speak highly enough of it. Obviously, the doors that it's opened as well. I've been in boardrooms with
some powerful people.
Yeah, people that have sold companies for touching on billions of pounds. So you wouldn't get that sitting in the stands on the
No,
weekends.
of course. You get to see the inner workings of the club as well. Yeah. All the things that you didn't see as, you know, when you're growing up, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. And you get
good and bad.
Yeah, and you get inside knowledge, that type of stuff, which, you know, I'm good at keeping to myself.
Yeah.
So it's something I'm incredibly proud of, and
you should be.
Yeah.
I think that's every young lad's dream.
Yeah.
Sit on the board of your own football club.
Well, it's either play football or do that.
Yeah.
I probably learned at 14 that
it wasn't going to happen. I think I was in the same boat.
When you're playing right back at 14, you're not going to be a professional footballer, are you?
I was still left wing at 14, but I didn't drop back for that much after.
Yeah, that's it.
Mate, no, it is so cool. You got the weekend?
Crawley at home.
Prediction?
I think we'll win 2-0.
Love that.
Yeah.
Right, okay, let's move swiftly on then. Let's talk about recruitment at Quirky Digital. We have touched on it a few times, but for me, I actually think that businesses like yours and like ours attract a similar sort of candidate, a similar sort of person. You know, yeah, quite a lot of younger, hungry, determined, ambitious people who we personally often take on almost like a clean slate. You know, you're not necessarily always experienced. We get to train them the searchability way, in inverted commas, and the earning potential is pretty substantial if you get it right. Yeah. Does that sound relatively similar to what you guys offer?
Yeah, no, it is pretty similar. I mean, you know, our recruitments previously has been, you know, we've been getting people with some experience that have got an understanding of it. But one of the main drivers in me starting a business was a lot of agencies were doing it wrong as well.
Yeah.
And I was being able to train people up from scratch.
Teach them your way, in essence.
Teach them my way. And to begin with, it really worked. Everything was systemized. Everything was going really well. And as time's gone on, we have started to recruit some more senior people in.
Yeah.
And that needs to happen at some point, because you do need that added experience. We don't actually have any grey hair yet, but we do need to get some grey hair into the business.
Yeah.
And people that have been in sticky situations before. For us as a company, it's just been growth, and people that have ridden waves before. And so, as I said, we're still recruiting the young, ambitious, these types of people in. I think if culture, from a culture perspective, searchability and Quirky are quite similar.
Yeah.
I think genuinely, if I was to work for any company, that we work with would be yourselves.
Well, thank you. We'll take that. We'd have you.
Yeah, I'm not not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. No, not ready.
Until I've sold the business.
Yeah, no, fair. No, there's definitely a lot of synergy. I do agree with you. At some point, as you want to grow to that next level, you have to find that balance. You need a few people that have been through the mire, that have experienced the. I think when you're on that initial growth, it all feels so rosy, so perfect. The socials are great and all the rest of it, but it does become a challenge to go on. But you're more than equipped to deal with that. Also, not too dissimilar. From a location perspective, we both operate in beautiful cities like Chester and Liverpool in your case, but they're not exactly renowned for being enormous tech hubs, I guess, like your Londons or your Manchesters or even your Leeds to a certain degree. Yeah. Do you find that holds you back or works in your favour? Because I know from Searchability's perspective, realistically, our biggest competition is even in Manchester.
Yeah.
And there's so many people local to Chester that can't be asked to go to Manchester.
Yeah.
So that kind of works for us. Do you guys have the same?
Yeah. I think Chester's a particularly good place because you've obviously got people from the Wirral, North Wales, further afield, obviously Cheshire. Got people, in some cases, Manchester ways that would travel as well.
Yeah.
What I found is, I probably looked at it as, I used to look at it as a bit of a negative. I did, obviously being based in Liverpool city centre, to drive to us is difficult.
Yeah.
We're literally, we're right in the city centre. If you come off the motorway, it's going to take you 15, 20 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
Transport links are all right. You've obviously got Limeshare. I used to look at it in a very negative light. I thought there's lots of business here, but in terms of attracting talents, it is very difficult. There are a lot of good, digital agencies, good e-commerce agencies in Liverpool, but there aren't loads.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a specialist SEO agency. There were a few that were of a decent size, but we've leapfrogged them now.
But you saw a clear niche in that market there.
We did, but that was with people that I was getting out of the universities or people that had a year's worth of experience working at a web agency. Only until recently, where I've been trying to attract the experienced SEO professionals, that a lot of them are, let's say someone's based in Widnes or St Helens.
Yes.
They've got Manchester. And as you touched on earlier, Manchester, I've got a lot of mates from Manchester. So I can't really talk bad about the place. But when you're comparing Liverpool and Manchester, it's like, I'm originally from the Wirral, but, a lot of my mates, obviously I've grew up, a lot of my clients, my good connections are from Liverpool as well. Family are. And it's, I 100% want Liverpool to be beating Manchester. So it's kind of, Liverpool v Manchester. It is in the football, it is in music, it is in culture. But from a digital perspective, we're miles behind.
Chalk and cheese.
We are. So when you've got them people in them areas that have offers in Manchester, and don't get me wrong, we're paying, good salaries to compete with them. People will choose Manchester because they're probably going to, in their eyes, they're going to learn more going to these bigger agencies. And it's something I'm trying to, change the tune around. A lot of our PR recently have been, we're putting Liverpool on the SEO map. You've got agencies in London, Birmingham, Sheffield, Leeds, Newcastle, obviously Manchester, Chester. They're,
thriving
from a digital perspective, and Liverpool's, it's getting there, but it's still a while behind, and we want to be that agency. Yeah,
no, and you're doing exactly that. You touched on the rivalry there between the two cities. The truth is, this is a big rivalry because both cities are so similar. From a football club perspective, from a passion for the city perspective, from the music scene, all that, they're so similar. But just for whatever reason, like you say, Liverpool, even from our client perspective, and we have some really good clients in Liverpool, don't get me wrong, but the amount of tech agencies, development agencies, software houses in Manchester compared to Liverpool is countless. So I think you've got a really good niche in the market. I remember when Martin talks about initially setting up Searchability in Chester, thinking, why Chester? He liked the place. It was different. There wasn't a huge amount of recruitment agencies in Chester, but he struggled with exactly that. We're going to struggle to attract the right calibre of candidate and all the rest of it. But if you become the powerhouse in a lovely place like you guys are aiming to be, then I think you can really win.
Well, that's it. I think, from a business perspective, when it comes to winning business for Liverpool businesses, we're winning it. Like,
Yeah.
That's it. But it's when you're stepping outside,
Yeah.
that's where it can be.
Well, people from Liverpool are so proud of being from Liverpool as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and it's 100%. That side's helped us.
Yeah.
And that's really worked in our favour. And I think not just Liverpool, a lot of other areas like that, they want to work with local people.
I think there's a little bit of that in every scene, to be honest with you.
I think, particularly Liverpool, though, it's obviously, that part's worked in our favour, but obviously the bigger agencies, and obviously Manchester's got a lot more e-commerce businesses, a lot more tech, SaaS businesses, and obviously it's become a bit of a hotbed for digital marketing. And, a lot of my most recent recruits has come from a big agency in Manchester.
Yeah.
And, she was probably attracted by the shining light of Manchester and, learned some amazing things there, but soon realised that, she actually likes being in a city. So sometimes people want to, people do just want to see what it's like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That leads me quite nice on to my next question, actually. So from a on-site, remote, hybrid perspective, how do you guys work?
So we're hybrids.
You are hybrid.
Yeah, we're
so
hybrids.
does that allow you to attract candidates from a little bit further afield then?
Not necessarily. So we do require people. I mean, as I said, we've been interviewing people recently that are in Manchester who don't mind travelling in, 2 days a week. Yeah. So, from a pretty much limited at the Northwest, in a sense, I wanted to make sure that it was hybrid and not, fully remote, because I wanted to create a culture where, and we do have that. I touched on it before we started rolling. Yeah. That we've never had anyone leave the company before.
That is actually ridiculously impressive as well.
Yeah, touch wood, it doesn't happen.
It can't last forever, surely.
No, that's it. But it's something I'm proud of, and I think it is because of the culture we've created where, a lot of people in the office, they are, they're good mates with each other. I've created friendships. We've got people that are from, other parts of the country that moved to Liverpool for university. Yeah. And they've stayed because of the opportunity that we've given them. And that's what makes me proud that the people are, some of them are looking at buying homes in the area, that type of stuff. So that makes me happy.
No, mate, it really should do. It's impressive. I don't think that can ever last forever, but to have 100% staff retention after 4 years almost is quite incredible. So no, kudos to you, mate. Let's talk about the actual recruitment process itself then. Do you how many stages do you have? Are they expected to come on site throughout the interview process? Can you interview from home? What's the crack?
Yeah, so I'm gonna put a disclaimer in here. It's terrible at interviewing people. Our interview process, hence why we've used you guys recently.
Yeah, thank you for that, by the way.
It's getting better. Don't get me wrong. It's something which, again, I've been learning on the job for the past 4 years. Now I've realised that sometimes it is better to get other people to give you a hand with it. In terms of our actual process, probably we've got different roles within the business. So we've obviously got people who focus on technical SEO, content writing, more the link building side. But I mean, more of like a generalist SEO. The way we would typically approach that is, obviously we'd have the applications come through. First stage, pretty much, it'd be quite a manual process of obviously reviewing the CVs. Anyone who interests us, we will literally just get them on a video call to begin with. Yeah. It might be a 30-minute video call, just have a bit of a chat with them. Wouldn't expect them to
come in.
To come in.
Yeah.
And we do speak to people from all over as well. There are people that do say they would happily commute from Manchester or Leeds into the city.
A couple of times a week. So I had that initial conversation with them and just get a bit of a grasp in terms of what they're like as a person. So that's where it's essentially like a culture check. Yeah. If that makes sense. Just to make sure they haven't got two heads or whatever.
Yeah. Whatever it is. And obviously have that initial check with them. Second stage is if I feel as if they've they've impressed and that they've passed that stage as such, we would get them in for a face-to-face interview where we'd ask probably more specific questions about their experience and what they've done.
So the first interview is a bit of a cultural fit. Second will be a bit more of a technical conversation. Yeah.
First one's probably more structured. Although it's informal, we will have to ask people similar questions to get an understanding of who they are as a person, what their aspirations are. Obviously, once we've got them into the second stage, it is more, them demonstrating what they've done previously, showing us websites that they've ranked. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, numbers.
Is, someone might come from a massive agency, but they've worked on a an account with 8 other members of staff. And look, we've produced all these really good results for a massive business, which Google loves anyway.
Yeah.
So I say, you know, if you got...
Did you do it?
Can you tell me what part you played in that?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can come across as being a bit, you know, intrusive as well.
No, that's a reasonable question though, isn't it?
But I do, that second stage, I like to go a little bit in depth with them. If, you know, someone ticks them 2 boxes, third stage is a skills test. And a skills test would essentially be putting them in a situation. I mean, I'll give you an example. Here's this website we've been working on. You know, and we will literally just say, how would you move this website forward? So, and we purposely give them like one of our own websites where we know we maybe haven't given it the attention that we need.
Yeah.
So there are some clear issues there with it.
And you got to solve it in essence.
Yeah. So will they identify the issue? 2, can they solve it? 3, how would they solve it? And if they come back with, you know, if they could, within like an hour, create us a bit of a roadmap on how to fix it right away, that's somebody that I'd want in my business.
Yeah.
And I'd pretty much compare the skills tests based off that. You know, if someone's done that and they've gone through doing the skills test, 9 times out of 10, if you offer them the role, they're going to take it because they put that much emphasis.
Yeah, of course. You know, they're bought in.
Yeah, we've had it before where we spoke to people twice, we give them a skills test and they're like, no, I'm not doing that.
We get that a lot in our world as well. You know, technical tasks are, and they're a necessary evil. We do lose candidates in processes because of them. Yeah. But in my very humble, non-technical experience, that's quite often because the people who don't want to do them aren't as good as they suggest that they are.
Either that or they simply can't be bothered.
Yeah.
And they think,
either way.
Yeah. Either way, that, you know, for the type of business that I'm trying to create, the type of culture I'm trying to create, you're probably not for us. Yeah. I don't think anyone's done a skills test and we've offered them a role and turned it down.
Yeah. Because they've committed that far into the process. How long did it take to get through that process, roughly, would you say? From start to finish? Start to finish,
probably 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks. I mean, we have had roles recently.
The recruiter in me is telling you to reduce that.
Yeah. That's it. But we have had it previously, like, where I've spoken to someone for half an hour and hired them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right away, you know.
Yeah.
And it does happen. And you know from, you know, we've had members of the team that have worked with them previously that have just said, yeah, get that over the line. And
get this person in.
Get this person in, and you know who to trust within the business based on their recommendations. So it's an interesting one. As I said earlier, it's a process which I'm constantly evolving.
Yeah.
That wasn't our process a year ago. It's something we've got to now. Previously I was hiring based on whether I like people, like, you know, the apprenticeship style roles. Will these be able
trust
to graft?
Your gut.
Yeah, trust your gut. Will they be able to graft? Will they be reliable? And that's what I needed. I wasn't really looking at, you know, people's education or people's experience at one point. And I've still got them people around me today who turn into.
So you were right, but you're just at a point now where for that next level of evolution, you probably need to ensure that technical ability is there from the very start.
Yeah, that's it. We haven't really got time to. There are certain roles where we haven't got time to train people up. Yeah,
because you're winning new projects and impressing new clients and the rest of it. Well, on that subject then, just quickly, from maybe a bit of a broad overview here, but what does Quirky Digital look for in the right SEO recruit? You know, what does that... If I wanted to get a job with you guys tomorrow, what does my CV need to look like? And I think I get the cultural fit, and, you know, if you're the right attitude and you're determined and you're ambitious, that works for you guys. But from a technical perspective, what does that need to look like?
The most important thing is obviously examples of what you've done previously.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care if it's, you know, I think I briefly touched on it earlier. I don't care if you've worked on big campaigns of massive, you know, with massive teams and you've had a lot of help for it. Tell me what you did and how you played your part. Can you explain how that campaign went? Did you play a part in it? What did your part do in terms of the outcome?
Yeah,
that type of stuff. I'm always looking for it. I mean, me personally, when I was looking for jobs, we've had a few people that have you know, come to us recently with portfolios or websites that they've ranked. So, you know, if you're looking to become a top tier SEO, you in my opinion, you need your own websites, you need your own case studies
to showcase.
To showcase, but not just to showcase, but to be able to test strategies as well. Algorithms change all the time.
Yeah.
So, I've got, I referred to the lip filler website previously. I haven't touched that for a while. It still exists. It still ranks well, but it doesn't rank as well as it did because of Google's algorithms have changed since I started that website.
Right, okay.
The way, Google crawls the website, the way Google analyzes content on the actual web page has changed. So the rankings would have dropped because I haven't updated it. So actually having your own website that you keep up to date, where you can test things, where you can, analyze these different changes, that's the type of thing I really look for.
Yeah, okay.
And that is, they're the unicorns in the industry, to be fair, the people that do that, because what you do find is people that do have their own big portfolios. Some people, I've started to see it less, in fairness, where people go off and work by themselves. And I understand that because it is becoming more and more challenging to grow an agency.
Yeah.
But people will, might just, work as a consultant and get paid for the time, or start their own course, or they might even, build, like as I did, build their own website and rent them out. That's showing like commercial acumen.
Yeah.
And, you can get that in an SEO person.
You're laughing.
Yeah. You're not just technically minded. You can talk about business. You can talk about what's going to do for people's businesses.
Help with a strategy and all the rest of it. Okay, cool. That's really interesting. And then just finally, before we move on to how you can help companies like Searchability, for example, our world has been, if it hasn't already, is going to be heavily impacted by AI.
Yeah.
What sort of effect is that having in your world?
Yeah, it's shook the SEO industry up.
Has it?
Yeah, it really has. So
scarily.
It was scary, it isn't anymore.
Did everyone thought they were going to be out of job? Yeah.
So to me, I could kind of see it happening. So obviously ChatGPT come out at the beginning of last year, and that's what's really give everyone access to AI.
Yeah.
But I've had access to AI writing tools for years.
Yeah.
They were very expensive. They were good, but they weren't as good as what people have access to now at a much lower cost. And I could see the hype building up around ChatGPT. Got to the point where I had clients saying, like, can't we just get ChatGPT to write the content? If you tell it to write an SEO optimized piece of content, it should rank. And I was like, give it a go. Like,
in theory, should that work? I know that's not real life, but
let's say a year ago,
yeah,
it did work.
Really?
It
okay.
really did work.
Yeah.
So, and probably up until the end of last year, it did work. So what you'd have is people would just, let's say if I was running, and to anyone who's watching this doesn't work now. Yeah. So let's say if I started Quirky recruitment.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. If I started Quirky recruitment and I said, fuck Searchability.
Yeah.
I'm going after all their clients.
He doesn't mean that, by the way.
Yeah, I don't. I wanted to go after, digital recruitment terms. I'd go on your website, make a list of all the content and send it to ChatGPT and say, can you rewrite this content for me?
Which it could do.
Yeah. And it can do that.
Yeah.
And people were doing that in the SEO industry. So people, we had clients that had invested heavily in SEO over the years, built proper businesses, and then, SEO people, not like me, people that don't really care about business, were spinning off their own websites that are ranking above these websites now. And, there were some public case studies about it, called SEO heists, that type of stuff, where it was just robbing stuff that people had done previously and rewording
manipulating it.
And don't get me wrong, that plays a part in SEO, but not in this sense. And, you'd go away, write all this content, and Google couldn't keep up with it. Google was obviously developing its own AI writing tools, so they were obviously cautious about telling people that, they were unsure on whether they wanted people to use AI content writing tools or whether they shouldn't use them. And it was quite, if you looked at the actual search guidelines, it wasn't very clear.
Right.
Until recently. So, in my opinion, 6 months ago, the search engines were full with rubbish.
Yeah.
All the content looked the same. If I typed in, I had a blister on my foot, so I was getting given the most pointless, gibberish content ever that clearly hadn't been written by a medical professional.
Yeah.
And people were getting sick of the search engines. I was seeing the reaction to it. People on Twitter were talking about how rubbish it's become. People were writing articles about the actual results that they were getting. It was the same website coming up all the time. And Google needed to act on it quick because a lot of people were using these tactics. Don't get me wrong, I tested some of these tactics on some of my own websites and they worked.
Yeah, cheat codes.
Yeah, cheat codes. And there are always shortcuts with the internet, but they don't last. So I mean, to be honest, this is very new, but probably 2 weeks ago, Google announced an update, which is called the spam update. And it has seen thousands and thousands of websites just be completely removed from the search engines who've been using them tactics. In my opinion, I think it's been very manual. So they've been identifying them themselves. People have been public about the case studies that they've been doing, and they've just been saying, if we get rid of these websites, and then these SEO influencers talk about us removing the website, it's going to stop other people doing it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's what happens. That from what I can see so far, I've got my own websites that have, used some of these tactics, and they haven't really been affected by it. We just haven't done it to the scale of what some other people have done.
Okay.
So Google's starting to work people out now, and I've noticed now that some of the rankings on some of the websites which previously used to do well would, have slipped down a little bit. So they've started to actually combat it.
Started to work back in your favour.
Yeah, that's it. And, we work with proper businesses, established businesses, people that are trying to, grow organically, grow sustainable businesses, whereas these websites were just cropped up overnight to make money. And I get it. Like, any industry has what you'd call bad guys and good guys. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm either of them. I'm probably in the middle a little bit. But people will always do it, and I don't get fixated on it. It doesn't bother me too much.
Yeah.
I just crack on, and I know
quality will shine through.
That's it. Cream rises to the top. So that's how it's affected it in one way, and I could probably talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
If you've got the time.
Well, how long have we got, ladies? I'm conscious we've kept Liam here a long time. We're just creeping up to 1 hour.
Okay.
We'll move on there, mate. But you're clearly very passionate about AI. It's obviously having a huge impact on your world, and you are just batting it away one step at a time, mate. So
that's it. So we could, as I said, a year ago, we could have made a rash decision and laid off our content writers and replaced it with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But I knew what was going to happen. Google was going to combat it somehow. And we want humans that are credible, that are displaying expertise, authorityness and trustworthiness across the website.
Well, the world just constantly evolves, doesn't it?
That's it.
And once everyone else jumps on board, it starts to lack its quality. And that's where people like you at the front come through. Love it. Mm-hmm. All right, Burnett, listen, let's move on to how you guys, well, you helped us. You did a great job for our grad proposition in ClickStars, as we touched on before. I am conscious of time, but as like a brief overview then, how can you guys directly help out other recruitment agencies like us, whether that be through candidate attraction or client generation? I'm old school, Liam. I came through an era of recruitment where you're always selling on the phone.
Have you used Indeed yet?
Ish. Yeah. Obviously, we pushed the guys to use all the tools that we invest in, but back in my day, it was literally BD on the phone, emailing, and you occasionally sent a message on LinkedIn if you're feeling really fruity. Obviously, the game's evolved since then. So, how can SEO paid search have a real positive impact on recruitment, do you feel? Yeah,
we've seen it loads. We've worked on recruitment campaigns previously.
Yeah.
I mean, from a client generation perspective, again, use searchability as the example. If you rank for digital recruiters, software development recruiters, SEO recruiters, if you got your website showing up for them searches, people that are searching for them generally are people that are looking to attract new employees into their business, and then looking for help with it. So, getting ranking for them types of keywords right away, there's a lot of commercial intent there. If you can get yourself showing up for them, not just establishes yourself as being a leader in your industry, and establishing that trust, it's going to get you clicks on your website as well.
Of course.
People that are interested, people are going to, going to inquire. I know that, traditionally the way, as you talked there with recruitment, a lot of it was all about relationship, getting yourself in front of people. This is a way of getting yourself in front of people that have actually got a need right now.
Yeah.
So it definitely helps. You can do it from that perspective, from a location perspective as well. If you wanted to find a recruiter that was local to you, let's say you was a general recruiter.
Yeah.
You could type in, recruiter near me, recruiter Chester, recruiter Liverpool, recruiter Wirral, these types of searches.
Which is what a lot of people in essence search for, isn't it?
They do. And then that's obviously one way of doing it. There are other ways as well, establishing yourself as, an authority in your space. So anything that's going on in the recruitment industry, if you can get blogs, and you guys do a really good job of this. you know,
Well done, ladies.
and anything that's going on in the industry, you know, getting it on your blog, becoming a thought leader, getting it on your blog, sharing it across your social profiles. That's stuff which, you know, helps your marketing strategy as a whole, but it's pretty much the foundations of it is SEO.
Yeah.
It's getting something which is going to rank on Google, and it's obviously circulating it across your platforms, and whether that's your existing clients or whether it's potential new clients, if you guys are being seen as thought leaders, they're going to be more likely to choose you guys. There's a lot more trust there.
Also to attract those candidates as well, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. No, listen, what you're doing is working, mate. Like I said, the work you did for us was phenomenal, and our world is forever evolving. My old methods don't work anymore.
Yeah. So
we'll make sure we leave you details for any recruitment companies listening today who can reach out, and maybe you can help those guys out as well. Yeah. From searchability's perspective as well, just a brief overview here. You know, when I first started in recruitment, people did digital. It's our division's called the digital division, and it was a byproduct. Nobody focused on it. We didn't have an established team specifically recruiting SEO candidates, PPC candidates, paid search, and all the rest of it. That now at Searchability is a department in its own right. We've got 5 people who work on that division in Chester right now. We've now opened up an office in Australia, and the 2 guys at the forefront of that division are SEO, PPC, digital specialists. That market has just absolutely exploded in essence. Yeah. As a result, we've seen huge salary spikes, there's huge demand. You know, in your humble opinion, is that growth going to continue? How does the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years look like?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think COVID as well has, it obviously, you know, it's a few years since then, but I think it has really sped up people being online.
Yeah.
And a lot of people during COVID as well have actually upskilled themselves in these different areas. A lot of, you know, businesses started up during COVID online that now, you know, they might have done the SEO themselves, or they might have done the website themselves, and the good businesses have grew to a point now where they need a specialist in, whether it's, you know, recruiting in-house, you know, through you guys, or whether it's using a company like ourselves to actually do it for you. It's, you know, it has really grew, but in my opinion, it probably has overinflated a little bit.
Okay.
I think as I've started to see that, I think there have been agencies, I mean, you know, fortunately we're not in the position, but there have been agencies I know now that have probably grew too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They've grew too quickly. Salaries have gone through the roof. They've become over-reliant on certain clients that, you know, there was a point where, like, e-commerce clients, you know, you'd have, in some cases, like 6-figure retainers for SEO because they didn't have the time to recruit internally for it.
Okay.
And it would literally just grow out of control where, you know, an SEO company might have hired 8 people just to work on one account. And I've seen that a few times. And then as soon as that, you know, the let's say this e-commerce company noticed that they probably could have had that in house themselves, and he cut the contract.
Yeah.
That obviously has a massive, you know, detrimental impact.
Of course it does.
And people at the minute, are not just obviously the digital industry, but in general, people are looking to cut costs at the minute. And that will always happen. There's always a bit of a reset where people think it's happened with me, like even recently, although we've seen growth, I've been like, yes, some of the stuff we've been doing has got a little bit out of control. What we've been spending, you know, I've been getting carried away as you do when
it's easily done.
And I think because there were that many businesses getting carried away at the same time, no one really realised what was going on. It was like this big, massive boom. And now I think other people have started to talk about it, become more open about it. And it has, you know, as I said, a few agencies I know have been impacted by it. I think you touched on Australia as well. Australia is a really interesting one because we've just picked up a few clients over there.
Okay, smooth.
And that's something which I think it's a real hotbed for tech.
Emerging market.
Yeah, it's an emerging market. So, you know, obviously you guys are launching out there. I think you have launched out there.
We have, November last year.
Yeah, you have launched out there. And things are 100% going in the right direction there. And what we start to notice now is because salaries have got that high, normally it's the other way around. So people with the SEO retainers would be the high, they'd recruit in-house.
Yeah.
Now the salaries have gone the high, they're looking to outsource to the UK where the prices might be cheaper. So obviously you've got the time zone difference, which I'm still battling with. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Is the long-term plan for Quirky Digital to take over the world?
Yeah, we've got international expansion plans.
Love that.
Yeah, I think we're focusing on Liverpool for now, and we're getting there. We've obviously started to make a name for ourselves nationally. But I think for us to really grow, I think it's not just get clients in other parts of the world as we had, but it's attract staff in other parts of the world. And I think
makes sense.
The internet's made that so accessible.
It has, and of course, you spread your risk as well. It works. Okay, so just coming full circle then, just to finalise this particular segment, we asked you to put together 5 top Quirky Digital recruitment tips when hiring internally.
Yeah.
Have you given that any thought?
I don't have 5.
Go on, how many have you got?
3.
I'll take it. I'll take 3.
I think I've touched on a few of them earlier as well.
Just quick fire recap. What's the best advice you could give to clients like yourselves when hiring?
Yeah, right away. First one, touched on it earlier, is, and a lot of people aren't in the same position as me. So it might be a web agency who're looking to hire an SEO person because they've just won an SEO contract.
Yeah, I'm
fortunate in the sense where I've been in SEO my whole life. I can know when someone's bullshitting me, basically. Yeah. If someone's talking a good game, always ask them to back it up with results.
Where's the evidence?
Yeah, where's the evidence? Second point's culture. Like the culture's so important because it can be quite stressful, the industry, in certain times. Obviously, we have algorithm updates, that type of stuff. I think agencies typically go through trends of growth and then stop growing. I think things can be difficult. So it's making sure that you have people around you that think in a similar way to you. You can rely on them. I've worked at other places previously where, there might be one bad egg in there, and that bad egg
it ruins everything.
It can. Yeah. So that's the you don't want any bad eggs in your business.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the most important things. And the third point as well is obviously finding someone who's teachable. So with the SEO industry, because it evolves so quickly, things change all the time. The internet's changing all the time. The way people search is changing all the time. Like now, you haven't just got people typing it on Google. You've got TikTok's a search engine now. Spotify's a search engine. Amazon's a search engine.
You have to be adaptable.
You have to be adaptable and be able to, to be able to pick up things when it's happening and not freak out about it as well. And that's something which, when you come across them people, keep hold of them, because they're the people that, when you're running a business, and it's something which I'm lucky I've got these types of people around me now.
Yeah.
But when you become fixated on running the business and growing the business, sometimes you can forget about what's going on in your industry. And there was probably like a 6-month period last year where it did.
Yeah.
Because things were absolutely hectic, not just business-wise, but personal life as well. There's a lot of stuff going on. And when this was happening, I had the people around me that were kind of hand the baton to them to make sure that our service was continuing to grow as our client base continued and staff continued to grow. So then people that do think outside the box, are teachable. They're the ones that you want around.
They're the people that help the business grow.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people hire to be reactionary. Like you say, you land a SEO project, you get somebody in quickly who can deliver that, but you're not thinking about the longevity of the business.
Yeah.
Okay, no sound. 3 good top tips there for hiring at Quirky Digital. I like it. All right, mate. Well, let's moving on. So I do a very brief segment called the Director's Diaries every pod. I'm not going to lie. I struggled with this one a little bit.
Okay.
It's not exactly a secret that I'm not a SEO PPC digital expert. Yeah. Hopefully, I've managed to keep the conversation going enough, but it's not my area of expertise. So we try and relay this part of the pod and make it relevant to the pod itself. So I was thinking, what have Liam and I got in common?
Yeah.
Other than being young, in your case.
Yeah.
Successful-ish, in my case, and both devilishly handsome. Obviously, that goes without saying. What else we got in common? But I kept coming back to the same point, and I didn't want it to sound like we're blowing smoke up our proverbial arses. But we are both relatively young directors of businesses in our own right. which got me thinking about the challenges that I faced when going through this process. And I'm sure you'll be able to relate to some of them, albeit I'm longer in the tooth than you. Now, I still became a director at a relatively young age, I guess, for general life. I was 31, 32. And I found that transition quite difficult. I was proud of what I'd achieved, but I don't know if your world is the same, but in recruitment, you kind of go from being a really good biller to teaching somebody else to be a good biller to then all of a sudden be responsible for business strategy.
Yeah, I get it.
And I was not prepared for that at all. Right, you mentioned this a few times earlier, but I feel like I'm forever evolving. I'm learning on the job constantly. So I was thinking about what advice we could offer other people going through that same transition. So maybe they've got real ambitions to run their own company and they just need that nudge. Maybe they're on the path to being successful within the company they're at and they can see that this is coming. So I was thinking about what I'd learned, and there was 3 main takeaways. And I think, firstly, taking advice from people that have been there and done it really stuck with me. Yeah. I think as young men who have done relatively well, you quite often back yourself, but you're not prepared to make decisions at the very top. You know, we talk about learning all the time, and I think taking advice off the others. Martin was a huge part of that for me. Obviously, he'd been around a lot longer than I had, but he'd been there and done it. We bounce out ideas off each other, but I think that taking advice from people is absolutely essential. Learn from their mistakes. I also learned the hard way that you can't be everyone's mate anymore. And I found that quite difficult. You know, I played football as a kid. I was always part of a team. I liked being considered popular.
Yeah.
I think all of a sudden you go from being on a level with a lot of people to technically someone that they report into. And I found that quite tough. All of a sudden you had to be a bit harsher on people, a bit more critical, be honest, give them an honest assessment about their performance. But I think you have to accept that you can't be everyone's mate, even though you'd like to be.
It's how you, it's something I've realised recently. I think it's how you communicate it to them is the most important thing. So you don't just randomly stop being, you know, pushy or intrusive with them.
Exactly.
You tell them why you're doing it so they don't take it personally. And you can still have that, you know, a good relationship with them. It's just
slightly
changed.
different.
Yeah, it's changed. Yeah.
But I think if everyone's on board with that, it's absolutely fine. I agree. You don't want to just become a knob for no reason overnight. That's not the point at all. But growing into that role, you do have to accept that. And I think finally, you've touched on this a few times, but I think trusting your gut.
Yeah.
It's so important. I think your gut tells you a lot about the right decisions. Yeah. If you're ever unsure about something and something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't.
Yeah. Go with what your first thought was.
Yeah. Exactly that. And anything that you'd like to throw in? Any advice from you based on your journey?
I think you have touched on it, like the first point a little bit when it comes to taking advice. So one thing I did realise, obviously, you know, I was doing relatively well for myself at a young age. I did think I was a bit of a know-it-all. Yeah. Some people might still think that now. But if people told me no for anything, so whether it was a pitch and we lost it to another agency, or, you know, I asked for an introduction to somebody, didn't get it. Yeah. I almost thought that was them.
Took it personally.
Yeah, they're the problem.
Yeah.
And I'd take no personally all the time. And I'm lucky in the sense where I've got a really good non-executive director in my business that she's been round, you know, businesses of all shapes and sizes over the years.
Yeah.
And I remember it happened, and I never thought about this before. I remember I spent ages on a pitch, thought I got on really well with the director, thought we've got this.
Thought you nailed it.
In the bag. I'd already started to think who I'm going to have to hire to work on the accounts and everything. And it didn't happen. And I was angry about it. And I used to get angry about stuff like that because the business still is my baby, but it was almost if someone was rejecting the business, they were rejecting me.
Yeah.
And I removed that. Like that, you know.
It's a powerful thing.
Yeah, it's not.
You can't win every time, can you?
Yeah, I'm not the business.
Yeah.
Like they've chose another agency, not me.
Yeah.
And when I learned that and made that change, and when I started to ask why people were saying no to me, it meant that people weren't going to say no to me for the same reason ever again.
No, I love that. Yeah, you learn from it,
and I learned from it. And
Yeah.
it was things as simple as you hadn't won any awards. You don't have that many good case studies in comparison to and comparing you to. It seems like a risk, like, you know, working with you over this, you know, more established business. So I learned from them 3 points is: one, we got an award within a few months. We were an award-winning agency. Yeah. Two, literally case studies of all shapes and sizes were on our website. And the third point as well, in our proposal, it'll tell you why you should choose a specialist SEO agency like us over a massive agency who've got fancier offices than us, that type of stuff, and that's in the proposals.
Love that. So yeah, any time you've lost a case, you've made the necessary adaptations to give yourself a better chance the next time.
Yeah, but if I'd have took that no personally and thought, no, can't even be bothered with even thinking about that anymore, getting wound up about it, I wouldn't have known that was why he didn't choose us.
Yeah,
and now I do that with everything.
Yeah, and you ask.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, why not?
Yeah, it's a great question to ask. Yeah. Love that, mate. It's a great bit of advice. Okay, we're nearly there. Coming right towards the end now. Yeah, no, again, we asked you to have a think about this before you came in, but we do end every podcast with a segment called the Wrap Up Record. I actually did the first ever Wrap Up Record. I got to choose it because there was a few recruiters on it. I chose Fire by Kasabian because I just stopped being a consultant. I become a director. That was my deal music, which is the cheesiest thing in the world. But when you go to the board, your deal music is played. So I wanted to hear my tune for one last time. And the Wrap Up Record is exactly that. It's a tune that means something to you. It might be relevant to Quirky Digital. It might be relevant to Liam Quirk as a person. Yeah. It can be absolutely anything, mate, to be perfectly honest with you. But what have you decided to sign us out on?
You know what? When I seen this come through, I just went on my Spotify right away and thought, what can I choose here?
What's your most played tune?
It could have been Darren Styles. Yeah. It could have been Tupac. Yeah. It could have been Oasis.
Yeah.
That's what my music tastes like. But
a variety.
My Way by Frank Sinatra.
It's a great tune. Yeah. Great to have you on, Liam. Thanks for coming in, pal. Loved it.
Perfect.
Sound.
But